Hey, if you like our show, give us a big thumbs up or subscribe or go to mancavemolly.com. Welcome to the Man Cave Show, and I'm the Caveman, and I'm here with a very special guest today, my very dear friend, Brother Ken. Brother Ken is a preacher who was our temporary preacher for a while.
Interim pastor.
That's what you call it. Interim
Yes,
pastor. Okay. Obviously, we've already had some fun with this, but anyway, we're going to have fun the entire time we're here. So, anyway, one of the things I want to ask you is, how did you like your interim pastor trial here, or how was it for you?
For me, it was very good. There were some challenges that I've never run into as a pastor. I've been pastoring since I was 22, and that was longer than day before yesterday.
Yeah, I bet.
So I've run into a lot of things, but this COVID-19 was very different.
What was so challenging about the working with the transition group and all those personalities? Was it really tough, or was it pretty easy going with the transition team?
You know, I was an advisor to the transition team. I was already a member of the church, and had been asked to be an advisor before they asked me to be the interim pastor. And then, of course, they had to present it to the church, and the church had to approve that. So that was a part of the process. But they were 7 people, all very individual, all very strong, strong in their faith, strong in their commitment to the Lord, and strong personalities. They were leaders of the church. And so each one was able to express their own opinion, and so there was a necessity of us working together, which covered a greater range of the personalities of the church. It was really a very wonderful time. And of course, our chairman, Randy Simmons, did an excellent job of bringing everyone together and of letting everyone express, and without any animosity in any of this.
What were some of the challenges that the transition team had, other than the COVID and everything? Was it easy to get resumes? Was it easy to put the word out to find a new preacher for our church?
It was fairly easy to get resumes through contacts with the Southern Baptist Convention, with the Florida Baptist Convention, with the Greater Orlando Baptist Association. They got word out and provided a great number of resumes. In fact, more than 130 resumes. And as well, they had to, before that, they had to understand God's will in whether or not we would unite with another church. That was not God's will. They discovered that actually on December the 10th. The Holy Spirit moved in their lives, and in that meeting, I wasn't present at that time because of a medical procedure, but they were fully united and 100% in a complete knowledge that that was not God's will. And then they had to go through every resume. They divided them up, saw the qualifications of each pastor. All of them were well qualified, but not all of them fit the dynamics of this church. The team had asked for a survey from the church. The church said what they wanted. They wanted a pastor. They wanted someone who would work with people.
How did that survey help them weed out the preacher that we eventually got? How did that survey help them out on what the church really wanted?
Yes, because some people, some men, are tremendous pastors, but they're really CEOs of a large church. And our church is small and really a very, very united body. And so we needed someone who would work as a shepherd, whose knowledge of the Bible was good and was sound, biblically based, and whose preaching was good. So we heard, or the members of the team heard every preacher on that resume that had some kind of sermon online or recorded in some way.
Now, I want to kind of go back in time a little bit and talk about when Brother Don Yates decided to retire. What were your thoughts, and what did you think about the church's direction and which way they wanted to go?
It was not really much of a surprise because his love for his wife and her medical condition, health condition.
Miss Helen, yeah.
Yes, and that's the way a pastor ought to be. The love for his family has to come first.
Correct.
Otherwise, he can't take care of the family of God. And so that was a given. So it was not a surprise. And I had been interim pastor for 6 months on a previous occasion while he took care of her and the cancer treatment before. So that was not a surprise. The necessity of taking over from a man who is so well loved and being a transition from that time to the next pastor, because everything changes.
Right.
And when you change pastoral leadership, then you're obviously going to have some change. There's going to be continuity, but there's going to be change too, and so it's a necessity to do some changes. We tried to do some of that so our present pastor wouldn't have to do it when he got here.
Now, speaking of our new pastor,
Yes.
who would have thought that we would have picked Brother Don Yates' son? That had to have been a pleasant surprise. At least it was a pleasant surprise to me when he was one of the. I didn't know he was a finalist. That was classified information that no one knew. That was a deeply guarded secret for sure. And trust me, how many times did I try and get that out of you?
Oh, you tried a lot, but you know that there are some things that we had to do without building up any kind of prejudice among the church. Frankly, who knew? Of course, God knew. And just to be truthful, I knew.
You knew he was going to be the preacher?
I knew 4 years ago when he came and preached on a vacation, and my wife and I went home. We prayed about it. We talked about it. We knew that Brother Don was going to retire eventually, and we would see it if we lived long enough. And we didn't know the circumstances surrounding his retirement, but we just at that time felt like that was exactly what God was going to do. And so it was not a surprise at all for me.
Well, for me and my wife, when I found out that at least I found out he was one of the finalists. And it wasn't through you, it was through Brother Don. And I said, hey, Brother Don, did your son apply for the... Oh, yeah, he applied. And I said, I'm going to ask you. He goes, yeah, I know. He says, I bet he's got to be one of the finalists. He reluctantly told me, yeah, he's one of the finalists. And I said, man, I hope he gets it. And the Lord answered my prayers, because he was here once before and he preached. And Denise and I were just totally... in awe of his preaching and the word, and he reminds me a lot about his dad. And then we talked about last Sunday about him falling off the edge of the stage. He and his father had the same style, I guess.
Somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat, not totally exactly, but he'd always get to the side or the edge of the stage here, and you'd always think that maybe Brother Don was going to fall off. Now, I make it a point when Brother Aaron gets close to the edge of here, I always go, I kind of like go like this. I don't know if he notices, but I just started doing it last
Yes.
week. It's like, well, go like this. Okay, all right. So he kind of backs off. So.
Yeah, that's why we didn't let you in the choir. We didn't want you pushing anyone.
Oh, I can't sing anyway. The choir would quit. That's for sure.
Well, unfortunately, with COVID-19, we can't be in the choir loft. That puts people too close together. And the rehearsals either put people too close together or too far away from our music director. But just one thing I want to clarify. While I knew that about Brother Aaron, I didn't tell anyone on the committee and did not hint. And in fact, I was only an advisor for technical matters and doctrinal matters, not for who they should.
So you didn't know either then? You were just advising, giving them answers to questions they had. Kind of like you're the judge and they're the jury, and if the jury had a question, they'd have to ask the judge for clarification of the rules. Kind of like that, right?
Well, kind of. Just not with any authority.
Well, you gave him advice, but anyway.
Yes.
Another question, I kind of want to get away from that, from our church here at Northside Baptist, and ask you kind of a question that's going on through society. And my question is, what the heck's going on in our society these days? I sit there and I pray and I ask God, I said, what is going on? And I mean, I'm sure he's trying to give me the answer the best he can, but what's going on in our society today?
I think people want to have better conditions for everyone, for the poor as well as for the rich. And quite frankly, most of us think of ourselves as poor. I've lived in Brazil, and I have a different definition of what's poor. I've seen people who were literally starving to death. Malnutrition was so great in some areas where I lived that it was difficult to provide enough for just the people that I would meet. We kept rice and a little bit of meat and some vegetables just for people who would come by our house, and give them a little bit to eat with a little bit of flavor. But I think now in our country, we want people to have a whole lot, and unfortunately, oftentimes it's without a whole lot of struggle. I think when you get what you need through struggle, you have a better feeling for yourself. So it's not just that we give their necessities, but we must also provide for their self-worth. They need to be able to earn their living. And that part is being left out in most cases. There's a political desire now to provide people with necessities irrespective of their involvement in earning it. So they substitute a feeling of expectation without a feeling of having accomplished anything to earn it.
Kind of like that lesson that you learn when you're growing up. And my dad taught me this lesson, and it stuck with me for my entire life. And my mom was a loving mom. She cared about her kids and everything, and she just wanted to give us kids everything. She's like, yeah, we'll go to the store and we'll get you this. Or even when come to school and get our clothes and everything like that, you'd always get new school clothes, shoes, whatever, socks and everything. And my dad was a staunch believer in, no, don't just give it to them. Make them earn it.
Right.
And Mom would say, no, they're my kids. I'll do whatever I want. And Dad would say, well, if you don't give it, if you just give it to them, they won't learn to appreciate what they've earned.
Mhm.
And you know what? That lesson has stuck with me my entire life, because if you go out and earn something, you appreciate it more.
Yes.
And I think that's what's wrong with our young generation right now, is they're so used to things being given to them that they don't appreciate what they have.
Mhm. Self-security comes from the fact that you may have some help from someone, but that person helps you to become stronger and to become more adept at accomplishing your work and contributing to society, so that what you get is in exchange for what you contribute. On the other hand, if everything is just given to you,
Right.
you're just going there and have no sense of security, because that's a false security and has nothing to do with self and what you have accomplished.
Now, one of the other things I'd like to talk to you about is, in a job, there's always things that you like, and there's always things that you don't like. Now, as a pastor, I've never asked this of a pastor, what are some of the things that you really like about your job?
More than anything else, I like to preach. And I like to share with people individually about their need for Jesus. The preaching requires preparation. It requires study, it requires prayer, and I do enjoy that. And I've been so greatly inspired. I've often said that when God gives me a sermon and I prepare it, God preaches to me, and then I preach to the people. And I've got a better preacher than the people have. God's a better preacher, and so I've been greatly inspired. But and I enjoy the people. I'm an introvert who needs people. That's a change over the years. I had to change from liking sheep more than people. I even like chickens more than people. But
They don't talk back, right?
well, they did, but I was bigger than they were. And so, except for one rooster, and he always chased me, and he had long spurs on the back of his feet, and he tried to use them on me a few times, but I had a gate that protected me.
The only thing I can say is, I bet you it was a good dinner.
Well, no, but he was a good daddy.
Oh, yeah?
I won some championship ribbons from his offspring.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So did they had, so in where you were in
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. That's happening in Oklahoma?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We had chickens in Oklahoma.
No, I'm just talking, no, cockfighting is what I'm talking
No,
about.
there was no cockfighting. It was that barnyard chicken rooster who chased me just because he didn't like me.
Well, a lot of people don't like you.
Well, of course. That's
don't
another
know.
thing I like about pastoring, because you can identify those who don't like you. People try to trip you in the aisle, and for the benefit of your listeners, Brother David sits back here just a little bit to my right now. And every time I would go back to sit down, before I was interim pastor and afterwards, he'd stick his foot out in the aisle to trip me. Desired so much that I would just go along with it and fall and see what everybody would
You know what?
think.
I keep trying to talk him into that. I said, Brother John, Brother
Ken.
Yeah, I'll get you right in here.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I said, Brother Ken, just fall down. Just fall down, and when you fall down, blame it on me, and we'll just sit and let the church think that I tripped you. And he always says, no, I couldn't get up. I said, that's
right.
all right. I'll get a few volunteers, and we will pick you up, and just blame me for tripping you. And you won't do it, though. Why?
That's right. Well, the way it is right now, it would take more than a few volunteers. It would take an ambulance.
How about if I put a pillow or a blanket down there so when you fall...
Well, that would take away from the expectation. Excuse me, I started to speak in Portuguese. That you had done it accidentally, that you had done it on purpose, for the purpose of tripping me.
We got to figure something out so that way before whatever happens, like if you leave the church or something like that, I got to find a way to put you down on the ground softly to where everyone will blame me for tripping you.
Well, they're going to blame you for everything anyway. I did from the pulpit.
Yeah. His very first time he gets up on the pulpit, I'm just sitting there minding my own business, sitting in my chair, got my arm around my wife, minding my own business.
He never minded his own business.
Got my arm around my wife, and next thing I know, he goes on a tirade and just attacks me verbally in the congregation. And I'm sitting there looking at Denise. I said, I ain't even said anything yet. And she said, that's just it. You ain't said anything yet.
Yeah, Denise had a real difficult time responding to you because she was laughing too hard.
Oh, you know what? There's a couple times I went home when I had some sore ribs. It's like, be quiet. Yes, dear. And then she'll look at me and say, I know you just didn't say that. And I said, and sometimes it just blurts out and it's like, I don't believe I said that either. Because sometimes it just comes out.
Isn't it good that at a time that is really serious, because when you're delivering the Word of God, that we can have fun together, that we can enjoy each other and enjoy the Word of God. Just being together as a family is not a time of crying or of long faces. It's a time of joy.
Right. And hearing your word and falling asleep. Wow. A lot of times I do fall asleep when you preach. And Denise says, why'd you fall asleep when Brother Ken was preaching? I said, it must have been a real good sermon because I fell asleep. Well,
if I'd have known it, your name would have been mentioned somewhere else in the sermon.
No, that's one of the things I like about Brother Don was when we first came to the church. And I just started blurting out things. And
I noticed.
And he'd always say, David, one of these days. And I'm like, okay, all right. And I warned the new pastor, Brother Aaron, I said, now be ready, And I got him last week, and I don't think he really caught it too much, but I think he caught just at the last of it. And I talked to him as he was walking out, and he said, yeah, I think you got me. I said, yeah, I did. I got you.
Yes.
So, but he's a good pastor, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more of his preaching. So,
I enjoy his preaching. He's a good preacher, but he's also very knowledgeable of the Bible.
Okay. But one of the things that really intrigued me the most about Brother Aaron was that he is very passionate about his preaching.
Yes.
And it comes across when he's given the word, and it's like, I think the church kind of needed a change up. Not that we really needed one, but sometimes having a change in the person giving out the word, it's kind of refreshing.
Whom God calls to be the pastor, he also equips for the very thing that he wants done. Also, the very thing he wants done, he calls to be the pastor who's most capable of doing it. Mm-hmm. So there's always change. Mm-hmm. And it just completes the church. It doesn't change it except for the good.
Mm. Well, anyway, Brother Ken, I want to thank you for coming to the Man Cave and giving us some of your wisdom.
Well, of course.
And I haven't had a chance to bust on you about knowing Methuselah and stuff like that. So, but well,
I didn't know Methuselah because after Methuselah there was the flood, and everybody who was alive at the time of Methuselah died, except for Noah and his sons and all of their wives. So
were you
I'm still alive.
Documented sons?
No.
Sure.
I'm sure I didn't speak that language.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I thank you, and brother, I love you.
And you too.
You're my very first interview, so I hope that everyone comes and enjoys this interview. And it's at mancavemolly.com. Okay, I got it right, I think. And also, we have Molly's Corner. Look at Molly's Corner. It's been updated, and she is the Molly's Corner diva. And we would appreciate if you would give to Breast Cancer Month. That's why I'm wearing my pink shirt today, is breast cancer. So please give as much as you can, and we would appreciate it. And